I will now start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Good morning, ladies, gentlemen, and educators. My name is Kurnia from SMIN 44 Jakarta, and I'm here as the first speaker of the proposition team who will start this debate. The motion of today is, in areas prone to disasters, this House believes that states should prioritize disaster mitigation over relocation. I have identified four keywords in the motion, and I will now define them. The first one is disasters. Disaster is a sudden event that causes a big damage and problem to lives. The second one is mitigation, which is the act of lessening the impact of an event or problem towards these lives. The third one is the relocation. It's the act of changing places to live. And the fourth one is prioritize, which is to treat or consider something as most important than other things. For the problem, I have identified three problems, which is the first one, massive loss of lives from sudden disasters. The second one is the cost of relocation, and the third one is limited space of living. The solution here is we believe that we should prioritize mitigation over relocation for these areas that are more prone to disasters. The goal here is to make sure that these areas are to be handled when there's a sudden disaster, and we must prioritize mitigation over relocation in these areas. Now, I will explain my arguments that I have identified in the problems. The first one is the massive loss of lives. Mitigation aren't just the government helping anyone, but also for the people who to act in these type of disasters for themselves for survival. Because the biggest cause of deaths in these disasters aren't the fact that help comes less and less, but because also the fact that these people who don't know how to survive when disaster occurs. For example, a person doesn't know how to protect oneself when an earthquake occurs. So instead of finding shelter or hiding under the desk, they will panic and frantic. And if ever the earthquake ever occurs strong enough, it will cause of death due to crushing of building and ceilings. And that is why it can cause a massive loss of life if mitigation action plan for survival isn't widespread. My second argument is the cost of relocation are far more expensive than mitigation for both the communities and the government. Because certain cities are far more harder to be left. And these cities have a dense population, fast-growing infrastructure, as well as the rise of economy and can impact the people and the government. Such an example of this is Bekasi. Bekasi from time and time again has dealt with floods and earthquakes, but it's far too expensive to relocate everyone as to, let's say, Palembang or even its nearest neighbor, which is Tangerang, because Tangerang also has a dense population and the risk of people losing jobs due to its relocation for both the person in Tangerang can lose their job to people who are moving from Bekasi to Tangerang, and the people from Bekasi who are moving to Tangerang can have a less chance of job due to overcrowding. And because of these costs, the government also have to give costs on making new houses and shelters for these survivals so that they have a place to live. And then also because of that, they have to up the prices of the economy due to relocation, and therefore it can be scarce. That is why the costs of relocation are far more expensive to be the solution rather than the mitigation itself. The third one is the limited space of living if relocation keeps on happening as the sole solution. One area will be even denser and the amount of people per meter squared will be doubled or even tripled. That can cause overcrowding and inaffordability of resources as it can be scarce. For example, if the people in Bekasi actually move to Tangerang, the amount of houses have to be built again and have to be overcrowded and dense. These people also can be cause of conflicts due to people in Tangerang thinking that these people from Bekasi are taking their spaces. Then also, because of the overcrowding, the amount of demands for schooling, houses, jobs, as well as the shelters are far more dense and too little spaces to shelter these people if relocation keeps on happening and the country itself doesn't have an even population throughout. And therefore, that is why relocation can cause limited space of living if this keeps happening as the sole solution, if every disaster kept happening. That is all from me. Thank you for your attention and good morning.